Hi everyone, welcome. Uh, Today I'm diving into a brand new Excel feature that I realize actually helps to solve a really pesky problem that I've faced when creating dashboards over the years. Um, it really has to do with running SpillRange, and when the SpillRange is run, the raw data has not been populated. We find that it contains some zeros, and this is in relation to setting up spill range, where you want to make sure that you create some buffer or room for new data that will be coming through, so that your dashboard is dynamic and can still receive new information, right? So I'm going to demonstrate that very quickly, and this should be just a few minutes, a very short clip. Now, if you look carefully at this data, so this is just raw data of some sales uh, from different countries, and we are assuming that we have two different, uh, salespersons who are reporting on sales on different segments of products. So we have salesperson one, whose data is right here, right? So we have, I think, about 50 rows of data. And then we also have this one, which will be data coming in from uh, salesperson two, right? Now, usually when you receive data and want to set up a dashboard, a dynamic dashboard, you usually will set up a few sheets just to make sure that the raw data is preserved and is not touched while you do your setup, right? So, as part of the data setup process, you usually I would have I would usually set up a base sheet, right, where I bring in the data from the different sheets, right, and then the analysis sheet, and then of course the dashboard. Now, the process of setting up the spell range, or just referencing the raw data, and then also creating room for new data that will come in over time. Let's say the data comes in quarterly or semi-annually. You want to make sure whenever new data comes in, there is room enough to receive it, uh, and then the dashboard is able to display updated values accordingly, right? So usually I would use Vista to call in the data from the various sources, right? So this is it. That is the first set of data, and then I'll pull the data from the other sheet as well. I already copied the header, so no need to repeat that. Okay, so here we go. With Vista, I can join, the data from all the different sheets, and have one comprehensive data set, right, to create the dashboard with. However, knowing that new data is likely to come from these sources, two salespersons in the same structure, when the new data comes, you are only going to add, you want the new information that has been updated to reflect in your spell range over here, right? So usually what I would do is to make sure I leave some space for the new data that is coming in. So for instance, we copy this, and also make sure that we still leave some room, right? Maybe an additional what? Yeah, a few more rows of data, right? Let me just end it right here. And then for the other one as well, also leave some additional rows of data just to accommodate. So I'm just using this to display how this works, right? Now, when I reference this raw data with a space to contain additional information, what happens is you see all these zeros populating in the data set, right? Just because nothing has come into the original data source, no information has come in. So uh, it creates a problem where when you use this to create any visualizations for your dashboard, you find all kinds of zeros also showing in. So, right. So I'm going to show you very quickly. So, for instance, you see that in this analysis, you find some zeros showing here. The 1900, of course, is standard because once we don't provide accurate dates and we try to fill down, we are naturally going to have 1900 as the default date. So you find that when you create dashboards with this type of data, you have these problems with zero showing here, right? Like this zero and this zero here, and you don't want this. You want the data to be clean, right? Great. So that being the case, uh, we need to find a way to get rid of, you know, those zeros. All right. Microsoft has done a great job releasing a solution for this. It's one of the main problems I used to face creating dashboards where you do your spill range and then you have all these zeros, and because it's a spill range, you are not able to edit anything inside a spill range, right? So it makes your creation of dashboards really complex. So I've already created the headers here. So I'm just going to pull in the data. Follow me, and then I think you'll get it. All right. And then I'll create a little bit more space. I'm going to come here, pull in this, the data from the other salesperson as well. Give a few more rows. Close that and then open this. Great. So now I have this, right? But the zeros are there. If I try to create any type of visualization with this data, the zeros are going to make it really funny, right? You won't love the visualization that will come out of this. That being the case, we need to clean that up, right? And the way to do that with a new feature that Microsoft has brought is to use. Remember, this is a spell range, so if you click any other place except the original cell in which you typed the spell range function, it's not going to work. Anything here cannot be edited. You can't do anything to the data because it's a spell range that is referencing data from analysis. Okay, so we're going to come in here and we're going to use the function called TrimRange, right? And then I'm going to close this one up and do the same for the data from the other sheet as well, right? So TrimRange now, and then close those brackets. Okay. Now what happens? The magic is all the zeros are gone, right? All those placeholders that were there to ensure that when new data comes, then the zeros go off. All those zeros are gone, but it will still work when new data comes, right? So you will find that, for instance, if we added another camera to the data from the other sheet. Let me use 228 16 camera, $250, 120. You see that it populates automatically as we type new data in the raw sets, right? So as we type new data in the raw data set, you find that it's populating in the spell range, right? So this is exactly what we are looking for without those zeros displaying and then distorting the look of our visualization, right? So once this is done, we are ready to begin analysis and to run all kinds of things that we want to do. And of course, usually this will be on a new sheet, but I just want to display something here so that you see how I intend to proceed with this analysis very quickly. And So with this, the next thing you want to do probably is to set up a pivot table. The thing with pivot tables is I'm not a huge fan. Why? Because the visuals, the charts that you create, pivot charts that you create are not very flexible in terms of the kinds of things you can do with them. And secondly, pivot tables are not dynamic. What it means is that if you use pivot tables to set up your dashboards, every time you open the Excel file, you're going to have to come to data and click on refresh before the pivot tables will pick new data that is coming into the raw data sets, right? But with um, this function that I'm going to show you, it makes it very easy, it's very dynamic. The very moment new data is being entered in the raw data set, it begins to reflect in the SpillRange. And so I prefer to use a group by function. So I'm going to use group by to run my analysis. And what I want to do here, I think, is to set up countries. I want to make sure that we have, sum of sales by country. And the way I'm going to do that is to select all of this column, and I've included, the header, and I'll show you how to use that a little later on. So I will use that column. The second one will be the sales. I want to see sales. I actually want to just see both sales and profit. Yeah. So there we go. And then what is the function that I want? I want the sum of sales, right? Great. And then do we want to see the headers? Yes, of course. So 3. And then I don't want any subtotals. Right. So I'm going to end it there. Great. So immediately I do this, I now have what? Country, profit, sales information displayed. So this is great, right? I'm going to use this to create a visual. The next thing I want to do is to look at the profit percentages by the years, right? We want to see which years have churned out the highest profits for this company. This is the next thing I want to do. I want to show yes, the profit percentages are the different years of reports that we have. The profit come from this column. Great. I want it as a percent of. I don't want any headers, and I don't want any totals. Great. So we have this. So we have this, and then we have this. I'm going to create this. I'm going to visualize this data using a combo chart and visualize this using a donut chart. So let's do that quickly. Right. So here we go. So for this data, we're going to insert. We go to combo chart, and then I'm going to select this chart. Right. So very quickly, we want to do some quick cleaning. I want it, all clustered up. All right. So as usual, I would make sure there is no fill because of the background that I want to give it. And then yes, these colors would change. We'll use gradient for them. Okay, this is already sort of set up, so it has just picked it. And then I would use my line. I think I want it a bit slim. I don't want it too big like that. So I prefer this way. And then let's change the color. Okay. All right. And then for the donut chart, So for the donut chart, I'm just gonna go insert and then what? I'll come here and select a donut. Select this first and then change it to donut. Give it a tap and look. Great. So let me just position this here. I can make it down here. Okay. Great. There we go. And then yeah, just change my favorite colors. This one. And this. This one. This. And this guy takes. The hole is a little too, yeah, I wanted a little just around this, like 60. Great. And to turn this way so I can see the top two at the top. Great. And now we add our labels. The labels are showing in decimal, so this needs to change to what? Percentage. And then something that is more readable. I'm gonna move this guy here. Move this guy here. I'm gonna move this guy. Great. Same thing for this guy. There we go. So, I mean, what is now left is in the absence of trim range, if you do not want to use trim range, I just want to show you another way to do this. If you don't want to use trim range, all right? If you don't want to use trim range, you can also, so now we've taken trim range, so you see the zeros are back, right? The zeros are back, all these zeros. Another way to deal with this, we go back to the original data source, yeah. Another way to deal with this is to bring a dot, okay? Is to bring a dot. And like magic, it takes off the zeros from the first set, and then the second set, we also come here, we find the source of the second set, and also put a dot right there, just a dot, and it takes off all those zeros, right? So this is just a little beautiful feature that Microsoft has released for Excel. I think it's wonderful. I think we should all try it out. It really helps in building dashboards. So yeah, um, this is what we have for today. So we have. All right. So I'll see you in the next video.